place a layer of cutaway stabilizer into your hoop and secure it, and we're going to do a stitch down for the placement of our batting and our first layer of fabric. So I'm putting in a layer of batting and some bag stiffener because I want this layer to be a bit firmer. Stitch into position, and then once we remove this from the hoop, trim back to 1 or 2 millimeters away from the stitching. We're doing placement line now for our zip to go in. Washi tape on our zip. Make sure you know where your zip puller is. Make sure it's secured to your stabilizer. Don't want it interfering with the needle at any stage. And so when we look at our zip pocket from there, the zip is opening from left to right and closing from right to left. Move our washi tape. We're going to place our first layer of fabric onto our hoop, tape it into position. Turn our hoop over and place our first layer of lining. So it's wrong side down. Again, we're going to be putting it so it is, the long edge is about 1/4 of an inch past our last row of stitching. Tape that into position. Just put an extra piece of washi tape in there just in case. I don't want it to be caught up. I'm just tucking that under, and I'm going to tape that into position because I don't want that to be stitched. It's at the arm edge of the hoop, and any excess will get caught into the slide rail when you put the hoop back on, so we've got to be careful of that. By the same token, we don't want to actually stitch it down either, so just be aware. Single row of stitching will stitch both those layers together. Oops, I'm going to unpick that. That's not secure enough. Unpicked it, can you see? I'll let that move. I should have actually had my pink thing on my hand and kept it in position. Right, let's just stitch this fabric down into position. This is going to be the front of our top back panel. And like we've done with the others, we're going to be stitching in the triple stitches to which echo both sides of the satin stitch. There's no embroidery on this panel, so we can go ahead and put our satin stitch in. I'm taking the washi tape off. I'd actually forgotten about this because I don't want it caught in with the satin stitch. I didn't know where it was positioned because I hadn't planned it, but I actually am out of the way. But you wouldn't want to be satin stitching over washi tape, not like this, because I want it to be nice and formal and straight and look good. If you're finding your satin stitch looks a bit erratic, then slow your machine down. I think I had my satin stitch being stitched out at mid-speed, about 600. Right, there's our stitches in. We do a triple stitch along the top, which is our top stitching. Decided to actually do it as a contrast to match my stripes. Now we want to pull our lining down, tape that into position. And use some tape to hold it. Now I think I should use new washi tape because I'm just being mean, and used washi tape doesn't do it. Yeah, pull that piece off. The last thing you want lining to actually disappear or move under the hoop when you're trying to stitch it in position. Right, let's just stitch around the outside area of this, and that will actually get that lining into position on the underside. Ready for us to start by, I think we put another piece of lining on top of this. Make sure we know where that is. Yes. So, we're going to place a piece of lining, our next piece, which will be lining 2, over our existing lining, right side down. So it goes around, down, stop. It's going to be stitching over that zip, I think, so I just stopped it so to make sure that, yes, stop and bring that zip back. If we were just using dress zippers with a small runner, a small puller, there it should have been fine, but don't want to risk it. See, that's quite out of the way now, that zip. We should be fine with it there, but I probably will stick it down and then decide to move it again, as I do. Trim these side pieces back to about 1/4 of an inch, and we need to trim our zipper for them as well, because we've got some flip and fold sides to go onto these. Right, first piece is the top end. Edges together and stitch. Flip, fold, stitch in position. Then we're going to add our stripe. And then we're going to go down to the bottom and do our flip and fold again. Next piece of fabric. Right sides together. Match the outside edges. Stitch down. Flip and fold. And then we will add our stripe. There we go. Right, next piece to do is to now I'm going to actually stick that down, but I'm pretty sure that I'm actually going to have to move it. So let's put our last stripe on. But I think that's the last time I have to move that. Again, flip and fold. Oh, we've got our top stitching, yes, along the edge there. Just beware of the zip puller. Right, we're done. So let's unhoop this and trim this up to 1/2 inch on each side. This is the top panel for the back. So, 1/2 inch. Zip down one end and do up 1/2 inch up to the the zip, and then pull the zip down and do another 1/2 inch. There we have it, our top zip pocket.